This is my second one today. And what I learned, and I hope I'm looking at the right place, what I learned is this screen was mirroring on Instagram Live, IGTV. And so now I've had to turn my camera around. So I'm looking at the back of my camera. So I have no idea if I'm actually looking at you on Instagram, and I can't see anything else because I'm looking at the back of the camera. Anyway, here's Facebook Live, and I can see you very, very clearly. So what I want to chat a little bit about here is our disc protrusions, and I want to share one really, really key thing. And that key thing is this, is I am not a physical therapist, I'm not a chiropractor, I'm not a surgeon, I'm not any of that. I am a yoga teacher, and I have a degree in kinesiology. I understand movement, I can see movement. My skill set are my eyes and my hands when touch is required, and my ability to communicate. So what you are getting from me on this particular live is a combination of my years of experience working with people with disc protrusion. And here is what I have learned. What I have learned is that when someone comes to see me with a disc protrusion, that is an indicator that the way that they are absorbing load through their body is there's an inefficiency of that pattern. And so my job is now to help them with improving how that load is managed and how that load is absorbed and transferred through their body. My job is not to fix the disc protrusion. My job is not to fix anything. That disc protrusion, in my mind, is the body's own way to find balance, and whatever balance means to the body-mind system. So to me, a disc protrusion isn't necessarily a bad thing. A disc protrusion is merely a result of something or many things. And so whatever that result was, that's not my world of experience. Whatever led to that result is not my world of experience. My world of experience is helping someone move better so that limitation called the disc protrusion isn't getting in the way of the person's life. And so that then this limitation, we end up shifting the way that someone is experiencing their body, and so they absorb and dissipate force a whole lot more effectively. So I want to make that really, 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 really clear about what this is all about. I am not fixing anyone's disc protrusion, but here's the thing. What I have learned over time is when I help someone move better and then they absorb and dissipate the force and the load better through their system, sometimes that disc protrusion then shows up on a scan as being going back into position. Other times the disc protrusion may stay there, but the person no longer has pain because how they're absorbing and dissipating the load through their body has improved. And so that no longer becomes an issue for them because they've learned how to better absorb. They've learned their biomechanics are a whole lot better. So I need to grab my skeleton for a second, and we'll bring this back. Okay, and so what I want you to get is that a disc protrusion is typically coming out of the sides here. So if you think about the spinous process being about 12 o'clock in the front of the center of here being 6 o'clock, then there's these spots here that don't have any ligamentous support, and that is typically where that disc protrusion happens. So then what I've often found with people who have lumbar disc protrusions is there's often mechanical inefficiencies in and around, and I bet IGTV you can't see me right now, there are often biomechanical inefficiencies in and around how the pelvis and the leg bones are moving. So when I can help someone improve how the leg bones are moving on the pelvis, then that can change up how the forces are then dissipated through the body, and then the limitation that is the disc protrusion doesn't become as much of a limitation anymore. That's the experience that I've had. Now you'll see here on this board that I've got the words here, trajectory of movement. When I'm watching someone move, whether it's into yoga movements or any exercise or rehabilitative exercise, what I'm looking to see is where those biomechanical inefficiencies start to show up. So where the patterns begin to break down. And I'm looking through the whole trajectory of the movement in that period of time. So I'm looking from point A to point B. My aim is not to put them into an exercise or into a shape, because the shape or the exercise isn't the thing that's going to actually help anyone get better. It's how they're actually doing the movement, or how they're doing the exercise, or how they're doing fill in the blank That's what's going to help them get better. And we, as the yoga teacher, we need to utilize our eye to help them, to help us see what that trajectory of movement is. So if we look at something, I'm going to do something that seems to be completely unrelated to disc protrusion, but I'm going to use it as an example. So if we are into a warrior 3, okay, and I'm just going to come here because I know IGTV, I know you can kind of see me here a little bit, is that say I bring my leg back and I'm coming into my warrior 3, but then I move my pelvis, right? So say I come about this far and then I move my pelvis and I keep kind of rolling, and then someone says to me, okay, now shift your pelvis back, but then you kind of do something like this, and I'm exaggerating it. But the idea is that through the trajectory of movement, at some point I start to break that pattern and I come into more of a dog at the fire hydrant. And when that starts to happen, I've already gone beyond what my available range was. So the actual trajectory that I have of moving is about that far, right? And so why is that important? Why is being able to watch the trajectory of movement, whatever movement the person's doing, whether it is a simple movement like a back bend, or a simple movement like swinging a leg through, or a movement that someone might get like cobra pose. That can often be given to people who have some disc protrusions. If that person is coming into cobra and they're like gripping and bracing partway through that movement, then if you can see what happens through that trajectory, if the person can learn to feel what happens through that trajectory, then you as a teacher and the person as a student will start to get a feeling of quality of where they compensate and where that movement pattern breaks down. If you only look at the final position, you've missed what possibly happened on the way to that final position, and you might correct in the final position, but you've already gone too far, right? So if you have moved into that warrior 3 and your pelvis is no longer square, then you try and re-square it at the end position, you're now layering a compensation on top of a compensation, right? And that isn't all that's you're not helping matters. You're sending the signal to the nervous system that that's the appropriate way to move. And you're stacking strength and poor movement patterns on top of unresolved movement patterns. And then you just keep creating more and more issues. So then as we think about this as it relates to disc protrusions, is I want you to pay really close attention to how you are moving. Remember, where the pain is not the problem. The problem tends to lie under our level of awareness, and being able to watch the trajectory of movement will help uncover where your biomechanical patterns tend to break down, tend to fall off, tend to become inefficient. And when you start to notice those inefficiency of patterns, then you can start to recognize where the actual problem is. So thinking about this now again from a disc protrusion perspective, again, my job is not to fix the disc protrusion. My job is to improve the way the forces are moved through someone's body, and teaching that person how to pay attention and what to become aware of so that they can feel when the patterns begin to break down, and to notice the correlating factors associated with that, so that then they get out of Band-Aid mentality and quick fix-it mentality and actually make the change that is available to them, so that that disc protrusion doesn't become a problem. It just remains a limitation that can be well managed. Okay, so I want you to think about that in terms of, if you are someone who has a disc protrusion, recognize that there are other components, your hips, your shoulders, how they are moving, and how they're not moving well, how you move, and whatever exercises you're doing, whether you are a CrossFitter or a yoga person or a Pilates person or a runner or whatever, there are likely, very, very likely movement patterns that are inefficient, which are helping create a scenario where the forces or load is not being absorbed well through your body. And you need to improve those patterns in order to shift the way the load is transferred in the body. And then what I've seen over time is that then the disc protrusion merely is a limitation, not a problem. And you can change up the entire experience that you have of pain, because now the forces are just being differently modulated through your system. Okay, so if you are interested in learning more about this and you would like to join me at the intensive this year and really dig into understanding how to follow this trajectory of movement, how to see compensatory strategies, how to help people who have issues going on in their body, then just put it in the comment below or direct message me the word intensive, and then we can connect. If you are someone with issues that you would like me to be the one who watches you in your movement, I can certainly help you do that, and just send a direct message, or you can post something below in a comment and we will get in touch with you. Okay, so trajectory of movement, watch movement, feel your movement from point A to point B. Notice where the biomechanical pattern starts to break down. Let that become a tool of awareness for you. Alrighty, have a great, great time exploring. Have a super, super weekend. Take care.